All right. So in the next part of the program, we're going to go through a bunch of gazing exercises.
Right.
So the first one is gazing at the back of the hand.
hmm
And so maybe just take us through it. And
Sure. The short and sweet is that you just hold your hand. Usually, just extend it out. It doesn't have to be. Don't lock your joints. Just extend it out. You want to use the back of your hand, not the front, not the palm of your hand, because the palm. The way I learned it, the palm, has the chakra in it as well, the center of the palm, and it's too distracting. So it'll sort of pull your focus to that territory. So use the back of the hand. It's a lot better and easier for gazing. So hold it up against a solid background. So usually, a lighter color is better. Again, if you have white or something like that, it's fine. Off-white, anything like that. But you can do it at you could do it on a black background. It doesn't really matter. Just the white will sort of help to reflect a little better in the beginning. So, and again, just use your gazing to go out to the periphery on both sides and, just again, relax as much as possible and just do your gazing and let that sort of take on a flat plane or whatever. As soon as it takes on a flat plane, pretty soon you're going to see probably just like a small ridge around either certain fingers, maybe around the whole hand. That's fine. But it can be just certain territories. Again, I think you'll see if let's say it was only 2 fingers and it's very close to the skin, so it's just on the outside. It glows a little bit, usually like a whitish or a silvery blue color. And as it goes, if it's like a couple fingers, then is the more that you relax, the more you'll see that it's starting to encompass more and more of that, more and more of the hand, the outline of the hand, basically. And then, it can separate a little bit, but it's not going to go that far because, that's that etheric layer that's the closest to the skin. So that territory is not, don't expect that to sort of blow out into this whole sphere around your hand. It's not going to do it that way. Okay, so it's going to be at that stage until you can relax enough that other other levels start to come out, basically. It's because they're sort of concentric circles, if you will, of territory that come out farther and farther. So, and that's more what we think of when we think about seeing auras, as this whole sort of globe around somebody, or inverted egg around somebody. And it's like, but it's made up of many layers. So as you relax more and you get more comfortable with seeing, then more of those layers will sort of pop out, and there are lots of other sort of moving aspects to it as well. So, but yeah, with the hand, it's a great exercise because it's simple. Most people can do it really quickly, but it's a good one to build up your confidence of having consistent results. So it's a great exercise, and then, if you're able to, once you're able to do it very consistently and it's effective for you, then here's a little augmentation of that. It's like when you go to bed at night, and you've got the lights out, it's dark, try to do it in the dark. Try to do it where you're just laying in bed, and you've already let your partner know that's you're going to do this, so they don't think you're like a weirdo or something, right? And then you're just sort of lying there and holding your hand. So you're lying and holding your hand over your head, and then trying to do the same thing. It's almost like anytime you feel like you're trying, you're probably pushing too hard. It's more like that you're sliding into the territory of force, and not the territory of power, which is more relaxed, right? So when I'm doing that in the dark, I'm relaxing, hopefully not falling asleep, and I hope if you are falling asleep, your hand drops and hits you in the head. Wake up, do your technique. So I'm holding it above my head, I'm looking at it, and then I go into my seeing, my gazing out farther. Don't worry if you can't see it. Pretty soon you'll see the outline of the hand because your eyes will adjust to the non-light in the room, right? And then the same idea. So the more you relax, the more you may see like a slight faint glow around the silhouette even of your hand. And so this kind of gives you, again, it's a little nuance, but it's a nice nuance because it's like, oh wow, this is really cool. I can see that in the dark. So it's actually it's not just the reflection off a lighted white wall, right? It's like it's literally emanating from the energy that is your hand. And so you're able to view that in the dark because it's self-emitting. It's not something that's a reflection or bouncing off. And that's a nice confirmation for people because it's a simple exercise. You have to go to bed anyway. Hopefully most people sleep with the light off. And so, you're able to do that. And, but yeah, so that's the hand gazing exercise, which is great. And if you want to do both hands, you can do both hands, and then we do both hands, it's the same technique just with two hands instead of one, right? So it sort of broadens the field of view that you're going to do it with. And then you could even do it, sort of like this, where I'm looking at both sides. And then I'm trying to start really, really close and see if you can notice where the two contact each other. And then I'm drawing them out and trying to keep the contact between the fingertips of each finger, So, and it's just, there's a lot of things that we can sort of manipulate and play with there, because it's just, you don't need anything else. You already have what you need to do that. So, and it just gets you, the more familiar and comfortable you get with doing the exercises, again, there's one of those things where it takes seconds to do it, or a minute to do the whole thing, right? So it's like the quicker you can get in and out of it, and the more often you can do that, the better it is. So, yeah.
Awesome. I like what you said too about if you feel like you're in the territory of trying, then you're trying too hard or it's too much force. Because the few times that I've tried that exercise, I've had times where I feel like I'm not getting anywhere with this. I'm not seeing anything.
Right.
And so so it's so good to just kind of have that reiterated.
Yeah, it's almost like you'll notice when there's that trying too hard, or you notice that something's not moving, and like, am I doing that? Am I not relaxed? Am I tense someplace? So I go through my internal checklist. First, am I relaxed, or is there someplace that's tense that's holding up? Is my posture good? So like the basic check, relaxation, okay, seems relaxed. Posture good. Yep, I've checked it. It's good. So it must be something that I'm trying to force it too much. Like I'm trying to see, again. And it's like, instead of using your eyes or anything to try to force the issue, it's almost like, instead of seeing it or even looking at it, it's almost like you want to feel it. I know that seems like a little more amorphous. It's a tough kind of thing. Like, how do you it's like you're feeling something with your eyes or your third eye, that territory. And so, and it's the best explanation I can come up with. There's that sense of like, it's not like you're looking for a feeling, emotional sensation in your body. The idea is that literally you're trying to look. If I look at something, that's one thing. It's almost like again, a convergent type of focus, right? I'm pointed and looking at the sharp lines and the saturation of the color and all those things very specifically. When I try to feel it, it's almost like it softens it and pulls it back a bit. And so, but it's just sort of it's an attitude more than anything. So it's like the attitude of seeing, rather than like specifically trying to force a technical issue of seeing. And so it just pulls it back a bit, but that's enough to give you that glimpse. And once you have the glimpse and you can, anchor it into that feeling or that sensation of like, okay, I couldn't quite understand it, but I tried it. And when I tried it a few times, it's like, oh yeah, there is a subtle difference between, relaxing and, doing the peripheral gazing and seeing it. Okay, there is a difference between that, and a subtle difference between that and like, I'm trying to feel that vision, feel that territory coming out. It's like it's so slight, but it's enough to make it happen. That's the thing. And so
I remember one time you used the analogy of like trying to hear something that's really quiet.
Right.
Yeah, and that like really listening, you know,
Yeah,
reaching out with your mind to hear something that's more subtle.
and that's almost like a combination of convergent and divergent focuses, right? It's like first it's convergent because you're trying to pick up a very something very slight and subtle in the distance.
Mm.
And then as you actually find it, right, then it's a divergent focus where you're opening your senses up to encompass more of it and pull it in closer to you. So it's a subtle thing, and this is almost the same in reverse, right? It's this sort of divergent sort of focus where I'm pulling myself back and I'm not just thinking about the visual aspect of it, right? It's more like I'm trying to get a subtle sense of that feeling my vision, you know, sort of what's coming in this way. And when you do that, then as it starts to, you know, sort of come out for you, then it's like, oh, okay, now I get it. I can feel that. I'm seeing it, but I'm feeling where that needs to be, that really subtle balance that's there. It's that subtle balance is everything. You know, it's like too much, you fall off. Too much, you fall off the other side. So it either becomes too sharp and comes blazing back at you as the physical that we see, and too little, and it just sort of like you want to close your eyes and drift away. So it's like that too, you know, it's like finding just the right balance for each person. That's an individual thing, you know. So, yeah, it's something you need to play. You know, this is something that this is the play. You
Right.
know, this is the
And these
play.
exercises that we're going through, this is where we're playing with it.
Yeah, I mean, this is the dance, right? You've got the technical aspects. You've got the, you know, we've given, I think, more than adequate amount of understanding of what each thing does or not, you know, so that you have a good synopsis of what you're doing and how you're doing it. But it's, you know, how do you take the learning the dance steps, the technique, and then, you know, hearing the music, and how do you blend those together to produce the dance that's sort of the combination of those two things, wherever, you know, that's where the magic is, right? I mean, that's the magic is literally the perfect combination of those two elements together.
Cool. All right. Well, we'll keep going through it and take it into some other exercises too. So
Yeah.
awesome.